please hit that subscribe button. Any thoughts you guys have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, please let me know. No specific topics today. Rather, we're just going to chat, answer any questions. That's the fun part about these streams is I just wait to see who joins and who wants to talk. So let's give it some time. Earlier today, I did create a YouTube short, talking about the increasing costs, I suppose, increasing cost of gas as well, but just increasing costs in general, it won't be. It's very hard to imagine how it won't eventually become a pretty significant issue. And there was somebody who actually came on my stream at 1 p.m. and talked about that. I was grateful for that. So congratulations, Jason. We're all proud of you. Keep up the great work. You should be proud as well. Mr. Photosphere, you found me. Thank you for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I hope that you are doing well. No, I mean, it's really tough looking for work. So the fact that you're able to find work, that you're out of unemployment, right? That's a really positive step. So keep up the great work. And I'm proud of you. We should all be proud of you. Mostly, though, and I think the most important thing, and I hope, is that you are proud of you more so than anything, because a lot of people, I think, when they face struggles, they have a tendency to kind of give up or lose hope. Clearly, you did not. You kept working, you kept grinding, and you got yourself out of unemployment. So pat yourself on the back. You should. We are just going to be hanging out. Wait to see who joins. Wait to see who finds me. Please hit like. Please hit subscribe. Consider some of those gifts. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Let me know. Thank you, everybody, who joined my other stream. I stream my personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/@CameronAdamson. I know the Windsor Spitfires. The Windsor Spitfires have actually done a lot of really great stuff and really cool things at the Windsor Masonic Temple. I posted a bunch of pictures about them and what they did. I was really grateful for their assistance in several events I've organized through the Windsor Masonic Temple. So I know the Windsor Spitfires quite well. So yeah, no, and if you check out some of my streams and some of my social media, you'll see me talking about the Windsor Spitfires and how much I enjoy them, so, or how much I appreciate them. I was actually at the Windsor Spitfires game on last week on, I guess would have been Saturday. Got really good seats. It was really cool. So I like them as well. You and me both. I think we as Freemasons, we can also develop, and we should look at developing relationships with our local sports teams. They can do a lot of really cool stuff. They can provide gifts for special events, for celebrations. They can do a lot of really good stuff. Um, we can, and that happens a lot. There are a ton of there are a ton of, for example, organizations where it's like going to a baseball game as a Masonic Lodge, like the Joliet Slammers, going to a Spitfires game as a Masonic Lodge, going to a football game, or playing sports. The connection between Freemasonry and sports is actually really cool. sometimes doesn't get the respect it deserves. But I posted some of that stuff on my social media. Um, Charms. Well, see, Charms, at first I was excited because when I see Charms, I think of Charmed, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. However, on the other hand, you just asked if my name is Mr. Yeast Infection. Please hit like and subscribe. Oh, Lord Ronnie, causing the problem, jumping in the chat, going in hot. Go Kitchener Rangers. I mean, go your sports team. We as Freemasons should always support our local sports teams and should always support our local communities. And if we don't have a local sports team, find the one closest or the one you care about most. I mean, sports is probably the one example of civic engagement that actually is growing. Not so much playing sports, but attending sporting games. I would argue that's a civic engagement. Um, Phoebe of Charmed. Oh, that's an interesting one. I like Phoebe a lot too. For me, though, I'd probably go with Paige as my favorite. Actually, Prue. I'd go with Prudence. Prue as my favorite. Even though she was the first 3 seasons exclusive, then Paige. Would it make a difference with whether I was or wasn't undeclared? Um, how about you just hit the like and subscribe button and don't worry about what I am? I would think that would be better. And this channel is all about Freemasonry. The thing about Freemasonry is it does not matter whether you're gay or straight to be a Freemason. Um, well, I'm definitely a proud Canadian. Canada's the greatest country in the world, in part because we have the greatest neighbors in the world. Nice. What's the Star Wars Lego set going to be? What is the set you're building? And are you and your son a fan of uh, the Moose? Sorry, the Moose, the Spitfires. I was thinking Manitoba Moose for a second. We're just hanging out, wait to see who joins. Poke, what's the set? Mandalorian the Child. So Grogu, is that the name? Nice. The Spits have done a lot of really cool stuff at the Masonic Temple. I'm grateful for all of their visits to the Masonic Temple over the years. Um, I mean, here's what I'll say. I'm a Freemason, undeclared, and I don't love Star Wars. I don't mind Star Wars. Like I was always a prequel guy. So, because I was probably 18, 17 when Phantom Menace came out, followed by Clone Wars, followed by Revenge of the Sith. And I liked those movies fine, but I never really got into Star Wars. To the extent that I got into science fiction, it was always Star Trek Next Generation. Official Homer J. Simpson, we have a brother in the house, as we know. Um, Homer, you are a member of the Stonecutters. We're grateful for you to be here. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Sith Lord was not a Freemason. Freemasonry did not exist in a galaxy far away a long time ago. Although I do sometimes wonder if aliens did exist, whether they be humanoid or otherwise, would they develop, if not Freemasonry precisely, something like Freemasonry? Would they have a concept of civic engagement, civic groups, civic involvement? I wonder about that. Because it indicates that all the Freemasons you've met are complying with or following the ethical rules and guidelines of being a Freemason, which means to treat people with respect. It doesn't mean to put up with nonsense, and it doesn't mean to not call people out if they're being foolish. But having said that, the default for a Freemason should always be to treat others with respect. Um, he was probably a legendary figure or apocryphal figure. I will tell you, official Homer, if I see a donut, I will let you know. By the way, Tim Hortons now has maple butter donuts to their credit. They are very good. I love donuts. Um, I hate donuts that are filled, but I love donuts with that are not filled with the hole in the middle. Oh, nice. VHS set from the 80s. I would hold on to that. Honestly, I would never watch that. I would keep that in like shrink wrap because I bet you money that's going to be worth money someday. The fact that it's VHS, I hear VHS are becoming more and more collector's items. Any Masonic movies or movies produced about Masonry on VHS, we should keep those. It's funny, when I first joined Freemasonry, they gave me a VHS tape of something called Brother to Brother, which was a documentary about Freemasonry. It's crazy to think at that time they gave you VHS tapes, which you had to return. Nowadays, they'd either email you a link or give you like a USB stick with something on it. No, Patrick, I gotta disagree with you. It is not because I don't like filled donuts of any sort. So, no, you are incorrect. But, I do like the artisan donuts now, just not the filled ones. They're just gross. I will say donuts are very often like the standard Masonic food after a lodge meeting. If the junior warden's busy, pick up a double case of donuts and some coffee. Usually is how it goes. And thank you to everybody who has been tuning in to my shorts. I just produced one now that's got some good legs to it. Excuse the pun. Yes, I was there. I think was that the most recent one? I think on like the Saturday. We might have been at the same game. Go Spits. They lost sadly in that game, but you know what? That's okay. They'll get him back next time. It's one of those things where can't win them all, but it was a fun game to watch. So Samantha Watkins, hello, how's it going? Please hit that like button. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, neutral. Honestly, what I should do, or anything else you want to talk about, is do a episode talking about Freemasonry and sports teams. That would be really fun. We're just gonna hang out, wait to see what people say in the chat. And I hope everybody is doing well. We have got, at least my plan right now is on March 21st, we're going to be doing a 24-hour live stream. At least that's my hope. Or at least a live stream, a marathon live stream. We're going to start by watching The Long Walk, and then we're going to switch over, watch some stuff on Disney Plus, Angel. We're going to watch Sleepy Hollow. Basically, we're going to watch movies that have to do with, or television or media that has to do with Freemasonry. I mean, I don't know about many. It depends how you define it. There's the Order of Women Freemasons, there's Eastern Star, there's Rainbow. I will say, there is a myth that says that Freemasonry is exclusively for men, and it's not. In terms of the number of women Freemasons, I don't know. It is less than the number of male Freemasons because Freemasonry has always historically been thought of as a fraternity first and foremost. But there is a lot of room and a lot of women Freemasons. I would say the key thing is it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And whether it be Eastern Star, Order of Women Freemasons, or Rainbow for that matter, or even co-masonry out of France. Nothing but respect. Well, I mean, that's an interesting strategy that Mr. Polyev has chosen to take. I guess we'll see what happens. Um, you know my opinion on him, and probably you can guess my opinion on Rogan as well, for that matter. But we'll see. Maybe it will. Maybe it'll work. Um, Hello, Park Metal detecting. So what you're referring to is Prince Hall Freemasonry. So Prince Hall Freemasonry formed, I never remember the date, so forgive me. I believe 1776 or 1777. And it formed after a black man by the name of Prince Hall was excluded from membership in a Masonic lodge in Boston. He eventually joined a lodge out of England, or out of Ireland first, then England, but then started his own Masonic group called Prince Hall, which was for black men who were facing discrimination, who were not being allowed to enter Masonic lodges or join Masonic lodges due to the discrimination at the time. You know, Freemasonry, as much as I'd like to think that we as Freemasons should be immune to or above the prejudices of our time, that's usually not the case, unfortunately. And so for a while, yes, there was, even though many lodges, even when Prince Hall existed, would accept black men as members, many others did not. And so they would join Prince Hall because they knew that they would be able to join it, and B, it formed a social support system and a social support network for black men in America who did not have a lot of options. Um, it still exists today. It's a wonderful organization. It's a vital part of the craft. But the idea of segregating by race really doesn't exist. So, for example, there are white Prince Hall Masons, and there have been many black Masons in my lodge throughout the years. So, Prince Hall is recognized by many jurisdictions. In the States, if I recall correctly, it's recognized by all but three jurisdictions. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things where um, I have really, um, kind of mixed feelings about I love Prince Hall. It's got incredible ceremonies. The brethren are really cool. They're really friendly, and they're a great part of the craft. But it started because of discriminatory practices by a Masonic lodge. So it's one of those things where you love the result, but you hate the fact that, you hate why the result was necessary. Um, that's the problem, Mr. Keeps. He's just a chill dude making interviews, helping people get elected who I would say are not good human beings and not good people. Um, you can't hear it with him now, acting super surprised at, shall we say, some of the turn of events taking place. And he's not equipped to do what he's doing. And he always goes and hides behind, he's just asking questions. Um, so, yeah, I'm not a fan of him at all. He's the type of guy who sooner or later will have on somebody who says a bunch of nonsense about Freemasonry, and he'll just nod along without asking any questions or knowing what to say back to it. And then that gets a lot of reach, and the next thing you know, we're dealing with that. Um, sure, sometime, Mr. Photosphere. But, it's like everything else. If there's something you love and care about and you're passionate about, then hopefully you push through, right? I'm passionate about turning my passion for Freemasonry into a profession. Um, but yeah, I'm obviously 100% pro-vaccine. He is not. He's basically just spreads a bunch of baloney and then hides behind being a comedian. Say what you will. I'll say what I want, and then I'll never hide behind I'm just a guy, right? I say what I want to say, and the consequences will be what they'll be. He doesn't want to have it both ways. He'll say what he wants, but then whenever somebody criticizes him, he hides behind, I'm just a comedian, which, by the way, has encouraged a lack of knowledge and encourages ignorance, because the basic lesson of Joe Rogan is you can say whatever you want to say so long as you're not an expert. because then you always have an automatic defense of I'm not an expert. It actually discourages learning and discourages understanding and discourages reason because as soon as you actually study and know things, you no longer have ignorance as an excuse to say a bunch of baloney. Um, but yeah, so I really don't like Joe Rogan. It doesn't shock me that Pierre Polyev went on to Joe Rogan's podcast. Doesn't shock me at all. But it did help reaffirm my decision to leave the Conservative Party and go to the Liberal Party. Not that I was doubting my decision, but it helped reaffirm why I did it in the first place. I'm sure eventually we'll see Polyev on Tucker Carlson if he's not there already, and Candace Owens, and who knows what else. But yeah, keep in mind Freemasonry is not political, so I'm sure there are many Freemasons who are conservative, many Freemasons who like Joe Rogan, many Freemasons who supported Pierre Polyev being on Joe Rogan. But it helped me remember that I made the right decision. So, at least for me personally. Not that, I mean, at this point, really, I'm pretty much a civilian when it comes to politics. I loved, goodbye, Mr. Photosphere. Thank you for being here. I mean, I loved being in politics. Don't get me wrong. I was grateful. Despite the changes to, at least in my view, the changes to the party, I loved and adored my time in Ottawa. I loved being an intern in the office of the Prime Minister under Stephen Harper. I loved knocking on doors. I have some of my fondest memories are of knocking on doors, attending rallies, even sitting over a kitchen table with me and three other volunteers, stuffing envelopes. I remember stuffing envelopes like, oh my gosh, you'd start at like 5 p.m. and you'd go through to like 2 in the morning because you had to mail out hundreds of these envelopes to people. Um, Nowadays, it's probably done more by email. I remember doing all that stuff, and I have no regrets. I very much enjoyed it. But yeah, things change. Maybe I've changed. Maybe the party's changed. Maybe we both changed. Who knows? Hello, Loraid Konov. Hello, I'm going to call you Laura. Hello, Laura. It's nice to see you as well. Thank you for being here. I hope you'll take a moment to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And thank you so much for joining. How is it going with you? It's nice to see you as well. I hope you've hit the like and subscribe button. I got chips, if that counts for anything. Um, I already had my dinner. Actually, my dinner was a chicken. Um, well, I mean, it doesn't shock me. Of course, he's going to support Polyev. Um, part of it, I think, is legacy, right? Pierre Polyev was an MP under Stephen Harper. Stephen Harper obviously had liked him at the time, made him, I forget, one of his like main people in the parliament. So, I think Harper was a great president, geez. I think Harper was a great prime minister, managed to actually have two surpluses, which is very impressive. He also had, at the time, a record deficit during the financial crisis, but I think he was a very good prime minister. But I think he's wrong. I think he's ultimately made the decision that, for his legacy to stand, he needs to support Polyev, right? Because your legacy as prime minister is only as good as your ability to maintain a party after you go, right? I mean, Mulroney, I think, was a decent prime minister, but all people remember of him really is the collapse of the Conservative Party under Kim Campbell, which people rightly point out and blame Mulroney for. So I think he's made the decision. Look, he can't switch parties, obviously. He has to support the candidate. And what does it say about, his leadership if he were to not support the candidate who is, was his main kind of attack dog in Parliament? Having said that, though, I thought Stephen Harper was fairly statesmanlike and kind to Mark Carney when he had his portrait unveiled. Um, right? It was actually really cool to see. And I thought he gave a very gracious speech to Mark Carney, about Mark Carney, as well as to Pierre Polyev. So I thought that was nice. It was a good example of, again, politics the way I'd like it to be. Compare that right now to the States where famously Donald Trump, when unveiling the portrait of Biden, he used a picture of an auto pen. Imagine if Mark Carney had done that to Stephen Harper, like unveiled a picture of, um, you know, a Lego man with the hair, because it was always said his hair looked like Lego or something stupid, right? There's a cruelty to the politics in the States right now that I really don't like. And I was grateful that Stephen Harper came in and chose to be gracious and kind to Prime Minister Carney. So there you go. I guess that's what I'd say. I think Harper is incorrect to support him, but I also understand why he did support him, and I'd be shocked if he didn't. Thank you, Chronic. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate all the lucky clovers. That's incredibly kind of you. And it's great to have somebody from Wyoming back. I've actually got a few pictures of me with Harper. I remember meeting him several times. Very, very friendly, very polite. Obviously, he didn't sit down and talk to me a lot. He was kind of busy running the country. But when I did meet him, he was incredibly kind and gracious. Um, and people don't realize, actually, he was more popular than the party if you look at the polling. A lot of people have this misunderstanding that, thank you, Chronic, I truly appreciate that. Um, People think that, Stephen Harper was unpopular and the Conservatives were popular. It's the other way around. For most of the polling I ever saw, Stephen Harper actually outperformed the party. Um, well, I mean, Harper famously had a floor crosser, if I recall correctly. I think he had the one. If I recall correctly, it's been a long time since I paid attention to that stuff, so I might be forgetting. It doesn't shock me though that you're getting floor crossings. I mean, when you have that close to a majority, you're obviously going to try to put out whatever stops you can to get them to cross the floor. I'm not opposed to a law saying if you want to cross the floor, you have to run again and there has to be a new by-election. I wouldn't be opposed to making that a law, but when it's not a law, I'm not going to blame a government official, whomever the party is, from kind of taking advantage of the system. And honestly, no government, I don't care whether it's Harper, Trudeau, Carney, Pierre Polyev, no government is ever going to actually enforce or create a law that stops there from being floor crossings, just because they all want to take advantage of it, and they all know there may come a time when they need to take advantage of it. Thank you for the high five, Chronic. That's very kind of you. It's kind of the same reason that even though Trudeau ran on electoral reform, he ultimately ended up not doing it. It's just too much of a can of worms when you start dealing with this stuff. So I don't know. I can't imagine any government actually taking any steps to change the system. So therefore, I will. It's hard to judge anybody. Vegan, I'll take it. Most people say I look like Kane. Looking Glass, that sounds vaguely threatening. Whether there's three guns, one gun, or no gun, if you're reliant exclusively on show of force for your freedoms, including freedom of speech, that's probably not a sustainable system in the long term, or for that matter, in the short term. Doink, well, Doink was Matt Bourne famously. Um, Vegan, I hope that you're doing well. I have a Masonic Lodge meeting happening tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a second degree. I don't know what we're going to have for dinner, but maybe we will have some vegan food. If we do, I'll let you know. Um, it's not up to me. I'm not the junior warden. I'll see. I mean, the problem with vegan food is my experience, it tends to be more expensive and it tends to be harder to produce in advance unless you're doing like a big salad or something. But salad's not really filling. It depends what you're going to the lodge for, right? Or what you're expecting. If you're going to the lodge and you're not really caring about how big the meal is, then people may be happy with just a salad of some sort. If you're not, if you're going there and you're expecting an actual meal, salad might not cut it. And a lot of our guys aren't professional chefs. It's harder to make vegan food, I find, filling for a lot of people. We don't worship Baal. There is no Baal worshiping ceremony, ex-Cal. There's a second degree, which has nothing to do with Baal. I've never heard of Baal until I started streaming, and then everybody told me I was worshiping Baal. So there you go. Um, what are you going to do? By the way, I want to once again congratulate WeTech, which is an organization here in Windsor that supports entrepreneurs. They had a event at Caesars Windsor. They had a whole bunch of entrepreneurs showing off their products and services. It was really cool to see. They were bidding on which product service would get grants. I've met a lot of really cool entrepreneurs here in Windsor. I posted some pictures. Thank you, Chronic, for the hat. It's great to see local entrepreneurs, kind of, especially engineering and tech entrepreneurs, focusing on trying to grow their businesses. More power to them. Sorry, ex-Cal, you got the goat. I mean, they make a good pet. Maybe you can use it as a lawnmower. Use it to keep your lawn in order instead of using a gas-powered lawnmower, because those are going to get expensive. I got a decent freebie hustle. I like the cookies most of all. I thought those were really good, including a vegan chocolate chip cookie, which is pretty decent. It tasted almost as good as a regular one. I don't think it was quite as good because the chocolate wasn't sweet. Chips. But it was pretty good. I will say that. I would certainly eat them. It wasn't like they weren't good enough to eat. They were good. Just, I do think that the chocolate wasn't sweet enough for me. That's a really good question. I think it would start out like Clark Kent, but I think if we weren't careful, it would turn into a Brightburn situation because it's going to respond to how we treat it. So if we learn that it's an alien and we treat it with hostility and disrespect, my suspicion is it's more than likely going to treat us the same way. You're a local Spurs fan? There is some truth to that. What you're saying, you're a local Spurs fan. One of my favorite quotes is from Marcus Aurelius, where he says, what are you afraid of losing when nothing in the world belongs to you? That includes your life. I don't think our life belongs to us. I don't think our stuff belongs to us. I think it belongs to the universe. It belongs to the natural or the rational nature of the universe. It belongs to the universe, and sooner or later we return to it, and all of our parts disintegrate and return to from whence we came, returns to the stars, returns to the universe. Having said that, it's very hard on an emotional level to maintain that equanimity if we're being attacked or if we're struggling or whatever it might be, right? And I think that's necessary. I think if we never got upset about our struggles, we would never be encouraged to try to change our situation. However, we need to be rational in our emotions, including rational in our times when we are upset, and times when we feel like maybe losing something. Because yeah, that's something that really helped me when my mom passed away, right? Because I think when it comes to your parents and even your life, there's this sense of it somehow belongs to me. Like this relationship belongs to me, and my mom belongs to me, but she doesn't. She belongs to the universe. And it's selfish of me to expect her to stay here forever. That's not how it works. Thank you for the hearts, Chronic. That is incredibly kind. Maybe I'm debating it. I'm hesitant about Brand Connect because obviously any brand I take, if it's connected to Freemasonry, or like if I take a brand and people start to associate with that brand with Freemasonry, and then it turns out that brand is caught, I don't know, using sweatshop labor or something, I don't want that to reflect back on Freemasonry as an institution. There's nothing I can do about the embedded ads in YouTube. That's kind of a necessary thing, but Brand Connect's a little bit different. But I'm thinking of trying it out. I don't have to take brands, obviously. Um, I mean, I'll check it out. Obviously, he struggled with addiction. People who struggle with addiction, I think, very often are in a great deal of pain. So, no, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all. I don't read a lot of biographies of like celebrities. I read the Bret Hart autobiography. I read the Winston Churchill autobiography. I read Stephen Harper's, and it wasn't really an autobiography. I forget what it's called now. I've got it somewhere. Well, Clean Cambridge, I do have Patreon as well, which I hope you guys will consider following me. I mean, technically, if enough people follow me on Patreon, I may not need Brand Connect, but I think it's worth exploring. I mean, addictive personalities do exist. I do think that there is something for many people where genetically, there is this genetic predisposition probably to addiction. And also, I think it's possible for substances to change one sufficiently so they develop kind of a medical need for or medical addictions. Like they may not start out addicted, but the brain chemistry changes so much, or there's a physiological need for the substance at a certain point. I think that's absolutely possible. Um, but yeah, I also think addiction is a disease. It should be treated as such. There are consequences to behaviors. You don't get to use addiction as an excuse for negative behaviors, but you also need to understand that, it needs to be considered medical, at least in my opinion, if that made any sense. Coca-Cola, without a doubt, Coca-Cola, vegan, the animal. I love, especially in the glass bottles. Now, I'll drink Pepsi. I'm fine with drinking Pepsi, but for me, Coke is where it's at. Nobody clipped that. And I think, it's funny how there are some parallels between Freemasonry and AA and NA, as far as I understand it. For example, AA and NA, they it's about a belief in a higher power, but not a specific higher power or supreme being. So it's not a religion. The higher power you believe is up to you. It's self-funded. And there is a civic aspect to it as well. So there are some interesting connections between the two. To my understanding, AA is funded through membership dues or through donations, which is similar to Freemasonry, which is self-funded through dues primarily. I think AA, the idea is higher power. In Freemasonry, it's usually called a supreme being, but it's the same idea. If it's not a specific religion, you're free to your own religious beliefs. I think that stuff is interesting. It's light free and I do not have an addiction. Well, I mean, I guess you have to decide for yourself whether you have an addiction, whether you have an addiction. When you say you just get thirsty, maybe try drinking water and try smelling other things, perhaps. Just my advice, take it for what it's worth. I think Pepsi is good, but I think Coca-Cola is the bomb, especially in a glass bottle. Especially from Mexico, oh, that's the best stuff ever. Mexican Coca-Cola in the glass bottles is so good. If I ever get on that last meal show, if you guys ever help me get big enough that I end up on that last meal show, One of my items is going to be Coca-Cola in a glass bottle from Mexico. Um, it sounds to me, ex-Cal, like you and this goat have a really strange thing going on. So, maybe the goat is possessed. I might talk to an exorcist if I was you, just for whatever it's worth. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, and I don't believe in the supernatural, but in this case, it's getting kind of scary. And please don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Consider some of those gifts. We're at 239 jewels. Last night, I was honored to be at over 1,000 jewels. That was really impressive. I was grateful for that. So I appreciate it. And let's see if we can keep it going. And March 21st, 2 p.m., I'm going to start. My stream is going to be a marathon stream. I have no idea how long we're going to go for, but we'll see. We're going to start by watching The Long Walk. Then I'm going to go on to watch Angel, Sleepy Hollow, a bunch of movies and television shows that I think impart Masonic lessons. And during the stream, I'll talk about what I think those Masonic lessons are. Vegan, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know if there's a simple answer to it. Nobody is ever 100% responsible for their actions. And that's even true um, whether you are raised in an environment of, pain, anger, and harm, or whether you're raised in an environment that, at least to the outside world, seems to be full of light and goodness. You are still, every action is not 100% the fault of the individual, but by the exact same token, every action is not 100% the result of outside forces. That's just not how life works. I think as a society and for society to function, we have to ultimately treat actions as the consequence of individual choices. And we can use, for example, upbringing as a mitigating factor, but everybody has a reason for the things they do, right? Like let's say you're born like you're born as the son of some super rich person, and you grow up in the lap of luxury, treated super well, but your father is always telling you that because you're rich, you're better than other people. You can treat other people however you want. They're just disposable. If you grow up and start hurting other people and treating them as disposable and not caring about their feelings, that's not completely your fault. Part of that is how you were raised by your father. But that doesn't mean that you don't have a responsibility, that society can't, use some type of legal punishments or societal kind of judgments to make you realize the error of your ways, the error of how you grew up. Um, I have watched Eyes Wide Shut. That is not a Masonic movie, no matter what people say, for the record. Despite, I mean, I don't know if Stanley Kubrick, I understand he actually based it on a French film. I think Mr. Keeps told me that. There are a lot of conspiracies running around the internet. I had one of them yesterday that Eyes Wide Shut is meant to represent Freemasonry. If it was, then he got it completely wrong because it's not at all what Freemasonry is. But it seems like it's more than likely actually just a remake of a French film. So there you go. Awesome. Holy Royal Arch Lodge 667. Where is it located? And once again, Laura, welcome and thank you for being here. I hope that you are doing well. I mean, I like, yeah, both Batman and the Joker. The part of their actions are based on how they were raised. So thank you, Laura. Is there anything you would want to see from Square and Compass Promotions? By the way, the yeses and the nos are, we got 8 votes, 6 yes, 2 no. The people who said no, what would your concerns be about partnering with brands? No, it's not. Excal, you are dealing with some type of demonic entity at this point. So you need to contact some religious authorities ASAP. Oh my gosh. Well, luckily, vegan, I know you're joking. By the way, vegan, let me ask you a question. What would you consider to be the, like, if you had to feed a large group of people, let's say 20 or so, it's all self-serve, but you had to feed a large group of people, 20, and you had to do so relatively inexpensively, what are some good vegan options that you would suggest or that you would recommend? Let me know. And maybe I'll bring it up to our junior warden. But I will say, I do really love uh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that the fourth one, Next Generation, starring Matthew McConaughey and Renee Zellweger is, I think that's how to pronounce her name, is a really good film. Um, and a really good movie. It's so silly, it's fun. So, Protestant opinion, Albert Pike, do you know you're wrong? Protestant opinion. I've been a Freemason for 20 years. We don't worship Lucifer. We don't worship any gods. There is no Masonic god. That's not how it works. But what is the first lines in Morals and Dogma? What is the first thing Albert Pike says? Um, So Protestant opinion, what is it that Albert Pike says at the start of Morals and Dogma? I'll give you a couple more seconds. Gonna give you 3 more seconds, 2 more seconds, 1 more second. All right. Albert Pike, at the start of Morals and Dogma, has a disclaimer which states every Mason is entirely free to reject and dissent from whatsoever herein may seem to him to be untrue or unsound. So his book was not meant to be a a book that speaks to what Freemasonry is or what Freemasons do or what Freemasons are expected to do. Rather, Morals and Dogma was written based on Pike's understanding, Pike's philosophy. It's his view of Freemasonry and what he considers Freemasonry to be, specifically Scottish Rite Freemasonry and specifically Southern jurisdiction Scottish Rite. I mean, imagine, for example, if you had a Bible, a textbook, something that said, and it started with, every person reading this book is entirely free to reject and dissent from whatsoever herein may seem to him to be untrue and unsound. It wouldn't be a Bible. It wouldn't be, a science book. The reason why it's so important to understand that is Morals and Dogma is not a book. It's not a piece of jurisdiction. It's not part of bylaws or constitutions. It does not tell Masons how to be Masons or what they are to believe. It is rather Albert Pike giving his philosophical take on Freemasonry. And keep in mind, it was published by the Southern jurisdiction of Scottish Rite, which is not Craft Lodge. It's not York Rite. It's not Shrine. It's not Northern Masonic jurisdiction, nor is it Canadian Masonic jurisdictions or Supreme Council. The Freemasons are not Luciferians. You are incorrect and you are wrong. Um, so, you can agree or disagree with what I'm saying, but you are wrong. We're not going to denounce something that doesn't exist. That's dumb. That's like when people will say this to prove X or Y. It's not how it works. Right? When you say rights, which right? And I'm not lying. Go read More Than Dogma. Read the first page, the disclaimer. Every Mason is entirely free to reject and dissent from whatsoever herein may seem to be untrue or unsound. That's the very first page of Morals and Dogma. I'm not the Freemason. There is no the Freemason. I am a Freemason. I'm one of many. There's about 850,000 in America, give or take. About 35 to 40 in Canada, give or take. So, I'm one of many. I have my own opinions on the craft. I share those. You can, just like with Morals and Dogma, you may reject and dissent from whatsoever you so choose. Um, Sorry, let me go back to, yes, lentil or chickpea curry, vegan loaded potatoes, vegan stir fry, and vegan kung pao with some chow mein. I also make my own version of a BLT. See, I find for Masonic meals, curries, stews, it has to be something that you can kind of put in a big crock pot and let people serve themselves. I find soups, stews usually go over really well. So maybe a lentil stew might be good. I mean, I can't speak to clandestine lodges because I can't go to those for obvious reasons. Whatever they do, I mean, I guess it's their sandbox. They can do what they want. But Freemasonry is not about worshiping anything, Lucifer or otherwise. And Lucifer has never come up in any Masonic rituals I've taken part in or watched anywhere around the world in my 20 years. Oh, milkshakes are awesome. Greatest place for milkshakes in Windsor, in my opinion, is at the casino. They have really good milkshakes there. So no, Douglas Marks, you are, I mean, again, they may not. I've never been to a clandestine lodge. No, Protestant opinion. We are not an army of Lucifer nor anything else. We have, obviously military members can be Freemasons, and we are honored to have them join the craft, but they're not fighting for Lucifer. They're fighting for whatever country they happen to be a member of. Um, I don't give specifics about rituals. I always will give this example though. I used to work in a legal aid clinic, and we worked with a lot of people who were um, getting evicted. We worked a lot with landlord tenants, and we had this one lady who was a tenant, and she was being evicted for not payment of rent. And she was telling people, and me as well as her representative, that she had paid her rent. Anyways, at one point she said, "If I'm lying, may God strike me dead and may he rip out my tongue." The point is, you need to keep in mind and remember things are allegorical and metaphorical, not literal. Um, I don't think that's true, Douglas Marx. I don't think that's true at all about Mozart, but Mozart was a Freemason. So that's cool. What would you say is the most important ingredient to make a good vegan chili? Because chilies go over great in a Masonic lodge experience, right? Chilies go over absolutely great. Is it beans primarily, or is it tofu? Like, what do you usually put in? I am not afraid at all of being executed. There's reasons I choose not to reveal secrets, but it has nothing to do with fear of reprisals. Um, We do not have executioners because that would be breaking the law. Freemasons are supposed to be respectful of the laws of the country in which they live and in which they operate. So there you go. We do not, Nature Boy, but there are some, I say that, there are some Masonic bodies and groups that are working on developing their own cryptocurrency. There's also a group that was working on Masonic NFTs a little while ago. Um, and so I don't know if it's made it anywhere yet. It was called Ether Lodge at the time. I'm not opposed to like a Masonic Lodge having an ICO. It just depends on the purpose behind it and if they've done their due diligence. Um, well, no, it depends in what way you're asking that question, vegan, because if, to my understanding, Brock Lesnar is a professional, so if it's $1,000 to have a wrestling match with Brock Lesnar in which we're working with one another to put on a match, then absolutely. Because I've taken suplexes before, and I have no doubt that Brock Lesnar would be a professional in the ring. If it's I just have to fight Brock Lesnar, no, because how can I spend $1,000 if I'm in the hospital, in traction for the rest of my life or not alive anymore because Brock Lesnar could eat me for dinner? Well, that would be the danger, Excal, of having Masonic cryptocurrency. First of all, we want to make sure the people who are doing it are good people and not trying to do a rug pull. There are ways to get around it. Limit the number of tokens you sell initially, right? Would be the obvious way to do it. Don't let anybody get too many, or start off by selling exclusively to Masons. But having a rug pull would be dangerous. So um, the laws apply to every Freemason, and this has been true since the Regius poem and the Anderson Constitution. Um, so that is not true. 187. The laws apply to all Freemasons, and they should. Um, Saute onion and garlic, add impossible beef, canned tomatoes, beans, corn, and spices. So what is impossible beef? Is it soy? Like, what is impossible beef made out of? Um, Will that be one option as well? There are different options, different considerations, different things worth exploring, without a doubt. I'm not saying I have the best answers for it, but I think it's worth exploring. I think crypto, I've never been one of these people who's like anti cryptocurrency. I can definitely see the value in it. Now, I'm not a fan of the way some people, especially politically, have taken up crypto as a solution to monetary problems, which it's not. But I think there's a value in it. It's just another tool. It's another tool in one's toolbox. Rando, I will do that if you give me a $20 super chat. I will find a way to launch myself at somebody and choke them, um, and I'll film it for my channel. Well, vegan, people are talking bad about me all the time, so I might have put him in timeout. I don't like when people talk to others in the chat. But it also is unfortunately being on YouTube. One of those things is you kind of got to deal with it. At least for me, if I get too annoyed by them, I can block them. You're kind of stuck with just leaving the stream, which is unfortunate because I lose viewers. But unfortunately, also YouTube and social media and the internet is full of, shall we say, challenging people. And we have to figure out the best way to deal with that. That is true. People bug you about everything. Don't let it get to you. And Rando, I would say when I'm doing it, I'm doing this for Rando. Actually, Rando, how about for a super chat of uh, 99 cents? I'll launch myself at somebody. I did not watch the Oscars. Um, so, no, I did not. I'm sure they were good. I mean, I understand Sinners. Like, I'm a huge horror fan, so I was very happy to see Michael B. Jordan get the Oscar for Best Actor. Again, as a huge horror fan. But thank you for the Lucky Clover, Rando. Maybe I can launch myself out for a Lucky Clover. Hello, Harsh. Don't be too harsh. How's it going? Thank you for being here. we're going to be ending this stream shortly. We're an hour in. I'll be back on tomorrow at 1 p.m. I did see the movie Weapons. I liked it. Not yet, but that is something I can do on my channel. I have to turn on the brand connect model. It's one of those things where I'm debating whether to do it or not. Because I don't want ads to become distracting on the channel. And, depending on the brand that you're dealing with, I worry that that can become like what happens if I deal with a brand that seems legitimate on Monday, and then Tuesday you find out they're dealing with sweatshops or something, and then I get in trouble. So, Chronic, with all these clovers you're sending me, don't forget I'm doing a stream marathon on March 21st at 2 p.m. If I go for long enough, maybe I'll get over 1,000 joules once again, which would be really cool. And a thumbs up as well. Thank you for that. Don't forget to check out my other channel, youtube.com/@CameronAdamson. I enjoy being on that one as well. And I've been doing a lot more streaming on there and videos on there once again. So, you got to find the balance, because a lot of times what I find is people. So, for example, I think that he said to you, like, eat some protein. If I start banning people for stuff like that, you got to pick your balance. You got to pick your how far you want to take it. Because if you go too far one direction and you're banning everybody that annoys you or annoys other people in the chat, then you're gonna have nobody left. You're welcome, Lorraine. I do these Monday through Fridays, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m., as well as I have content on Instagram, Twitter. If you want to follow me on Instagram, look up Square and Compass Promotions on Instagram. On Facebook, follow me on all those channels for more content just like this. You gave me a lucky clover, Rando, so that's good enough. I'll see what I can do. I won't make any promises, but I will see what I can do for you. We're actually an hour in. Wow. This actually hour went by really quick, so that's fun. Well, if you send money to the Shriners, it supports the Shriners, which is a Masonic organization, but ultimately it will go to support children. So you absolutely should, because it will go to support children's hospitals and children's charities, and it'll be used locally. So you definitely should. It will support the Freemasons in a indirect way, in that the stronger the Shriners are, the stronger, Freemasonry will be. Because Freemasonry is part of what it means to be, or sorry, to be a Shriner is part of what it means to be a Freemason. But it will more directly help children who could use the help. So, by all means, please do so. Every Christmas in Windsor, they sell, Christmas fruitcakes, which go for the same, which go to help. Hold on just 1 second. Well, I didn't see that one, vegan, but again, I don't see every comment by either, by the way. You need to keep that in mind, but it's a balance. I don't always get it right, but I try my best. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. Please take a moment, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thank you so much. Thank you for following. I'm grateful for that. And I look forward to maybe seeing you, if you want to join me, on March 21st, 2 p.m. for the Marathon Live. And thank you for following me. I'm grateful for that. So I will talk to everybody soon. Have an excellent night. And thank you for all of the support as always.